I don't think I've played an RPG that's this deep and this complex in a very long time. Now, I just want to say I love RPGs and it's one of my favorite genres ever, but I'm not like a hardcore RPG player. I actually kind of stumbled my way through Baldur's Gate 3 when I played that. I'm not super keen on like extremely deep hardcore experiences, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 actually is a bit more accessible than the first game, which I did play that, but I just couldn't get into it because it was way too obtuse, way too difficult. But this sequel, KCD2, actually does quite a bit to assimilate new players into this world. There are extensive tutorials and quite a lengthy opening sequence, which just gives you a good idea of how to play the game pretty much. But after those opening few hours are over and you get free reins to explore the open world, you're basically just given this open-ended objective, which is to find a way to get to the wedding, and you literally just have to figure it out yourself. And this free reign to literally do whatever you want in this massive world, just explore, find people to complete quests for, and all of this. I haven't experienced this level of freedom in a game in literally, it feels like years. It feels like the last game that really had this kind of sandboxy, open-ended style was like Skyrim back in 2011. And honestly, this does feel, it actually feels more like a successor to like Oblivion. The way that you like level up your skills and stuff was very reminiscent of Oblivion, but it's just a bit more in depth here. There are so many systems and mechanics in this game that are just, they focus a lot on being immersive, you know. Henry famously gets hungry and he has to sleep and he has to, you know, be clean, otherwise people are going to judge him. If you talk to someone covered in blood, they're going to like call you out on that. Honestly, the closest comparison that I could give this game is probably like Red Dead Redemption 2, where it's really focused on immersion and realism, but KCD2 definitely brings a bit of quality of life to the experience. Like, you can just call your horse from anywhere and you don't have to do all of these lengthy animations when you're like skinning a deer or whatever. And this is a lengthy game. This thing took me like 100 hours to get through, and I did the majority of the side content. Like, I got a trophy at the end which said that I've completed most of the side content. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go finish the story now then. It is just insane. Like, halfway through the game, you know, you finish up the first open world area and then you get dropped into an even bigger world, even bigger open world with like this massive, super dense city, better side quests, better story. It's a game that progressively gets better and better the more time you put into it. I just haven't felt this kind of immersion and this kind of feeling towards a game, honestly, since like some of the classic Bethesda releases. This is one of the most immersive and incredible role-playing experiences that I've ever had. So far, this is my game of the year, and it's going to be hard for any other game to surpass it. Like, it is that good. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was kind of mixed on this one. So I would say that I'm like a casual fan of the Like a Dragon franchise. I've played Kiwami 1 and 2, and I've played 3, and I think I got a few hours into 4, but I got a bit burnt out. And I also played 7 and 8. So I'm not like a hardcore fan. I've not played every single Like a Dragon game, but I've played enough where I would say that I'm a fan of the franchise. Now, Majima is a character that, you know, he's sort of a side character. I know he's a main character in Yakuza 0. I haven't actually played Yakuza 0 yet. So I don't think that I was super hooked on the story just because Majima is not a character that I'm super attached to. I feel like if I had played 0, I would be more invested in the story. But the story just really didn't do anything for me in this game. It's the classic, you know, main character gets amnesia and has to figure out why he's here, what's going on. And it does tie up some loose ends from Infinite Wealth. I didn't actually finish the story. I played this game for about 20 hours and I did the majority of the side content. I did all the pirate stuff. But yeah, right, I just didn't have any drive to finish the story, so I didn't. However, it is still very fun. I think that the naval combat is a bit repetitive. There's not much depth there, it's very arcadey, but I had a lot of fun clearing out each of the like open world maps that you unlock. But when you land on an island and you just, you take out wave after wave of enemy, it's very repetitive. The sub-stories in the game were very fun and funny though. Obviously the mini-games are super fun. I got pretty addicted to this like barrel blasting baseball mini-game. I played that for like a couple of hours. So I did have a lot of fun with this game. I just didn't feel much drive to complete the main story. It might be a game that I go back to after I played Yakuza 0. I plan to play Yakuza 0 when the Switch 2 comes out because it's getting like a remaster kind of thing on there, so I'm going to actually pick it up and play it. So I might return to this one later on in the year, but for now, it didn't really leave much of a lasting impression on me. It was just fun in the moment and, I got enough out of it. The next game, Monster Hunter Wilds, is a different story. I actually really, really enjoyed Monster Hunter Wilds. However, I did make a video, like my previous video. I talked about this game. I did have some issues with low rank. I thought that it was very strange the way that they decided to approach the storytelling, where it just basically puts you on rails for 15 hours. But once you get out of low rank and the traditional Monster Hunter gameplay loop opens up, I think that this is one of the more streamlined and accessible Monster Hunter games. Its core gameplay loop hasn't changed much, but like the structure of it has. So you don't go onto a mission board and then choose which monster to hunt. You can literally just like hunt a monster and then just travel to the next monster straight away. You don't have to go back to your base camp. And that core gameplay loop is still really fun. I have the same issue with Monster Hunter in that I don't personally find much satisfaction from the gameplay loop. I know that this is maybe crazy to say, but the idea of grinding out monsters just to improve your gear and get stronger and stronger weapons so you can fight monsters again and again and again, I get kind of bored of that. So I put like 20 hours into high rank and then I put the game down. But I will say that this is definitely a more streamlined Monster Hunter experience and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was very easy. I don't know if that's just because like I know how to play these games now, but I did notice that I wasn't struggling with this game like at all. And yeah, the story is really forgettable and they focus a lot on it and it kind of drags it down a little bit. But yeah, the core experience is very fun and I don't really have many complaints. I got my money's worth. I put like 35 hours in and I'm done. I'm satisfied. It's one of those games where I don't know if I'll return to it, but I had fun in the moment. The next game is one that I was really excited for because I love this franchise. It's Assassin's Creed Shadows. I was really excited for this and in my opinion it actually delivered like on mostly everything that I wanted from it. I'm like one of the few people that kind of enjoyed Valhalla. I put like 100 hours into that. It was very, very long and I'm happy to say that Shadows it definitely respects your time a lot more. There's still like traditional Ubisoft style like filler content, there's some repetitive open world activities, there's so many castles, it's just crazy. There's just a lot in this game. However, the story in this game was fantastic. I thought it was really, really good. Yasuke's backstory, his journey, his development throughout the game is super interesting. He's a really well-defined character. And Naoe as well is she's definitely like the main character and she's like the main focus. Her storyline is a lot more about like, the assassins and stuff. And it's very cool. It goes in some really interesting places and it, calls back to sort of classic traditional Assassin's Creed games. And I really thought that was missing from the more recent Assassin's Creed games. The whole Assassin versus Templar plotline is just not really explored in the more recent games, but it is here and I really enjoy that about it. Unfortunately, much like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it doesn't really have an ending. It just sort of stops, which felt a bit odd. They're obviously going to expand on it in the expansions and stuff. But yeah, I think Yasuke's storyline has a really satisfying conclusion, but Naoe's storyline is far from over. It's a bit annoying because this game took me 60 hours to get through. I did do a lot of side content, but that is still quite a substantial time investment. And to not have a fully satisfying ending still does hurt a bit. It's more about the journey, right? And what a journey it was. I mean, This is genuinely the most visually stunning game I've ever played. I did start off on performance mode, and the footage you're seeing here is all on performance mode. I switched over to balance mode about 20 hours in, and yeah, I mean, the difference is night and day. It's such a pretty game. I also changed the voice acting from like the English dub, which I thought was pretty flat. Honestly, not that great.
You're right. I couldn't stay away. Not when there are hungry villagers in desperate need of rice.
You should leave me here. I'm not worth the trouble.
Shut up.
And I switched it to like immersive mode. So I definitely recommend that. If you haven't played the game yet, I recommend switching it to immersive mode for a better experience, really. But you know, this is still an Assassin's Creed game. This is still a Ubisoft game. You have the classic leveling system with like this massive skill tree. It's definitely more streamlined than in Valhalla. Exploration definitely relies quite heavily on, you know, hunting down targets. Like this entire game is like a massive target board. And I haven't actually done like everything in the game. I do intend to go back, especially when the expansions drop. I know they're releasing like a new one some point this year, so I'll return to it then. You know, there are some cool little things like upgrading your hideout, finding like a vendor which sells a new tree or something. Each of the side characters that you meet as well, like the companions, are, I would say some of them are kind of forgettable, but some do have good stories, and there are some good side quests here. There just aren't a lot of them. And that's something that I found was actually better in Valhalla, was the side quests. There were quite a lot of side quests in that game, and they were generally a lot more interesting. In this game, it is, you know, you meet an NPC and they tell you about a new organization, and then you just go and assassinate each member of the organization, like classic Assassin's Creed stuff. But there is like a pretty strange lack of traditional side quests, which I did find kind of weird. But ultimately, the core gameplay loop was very fun. The stealth in this game is probably the best in the entire franchise, honestly. I was really surprised, like pleasantly surprised by Naoe's moveset. Her tools are super fun to use. The way that, obviously, it is called Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it focuses on, you know, you got to stick to the shadows. I played it on expert difficulty, and it was just right. It was just perfect. There's enough depth here in the stealth gameplay where it was just super compelling throughout. And the combat as well is also really good. It's definitely the best combat in the franchise. I know it's not a high bar, and it's by far nowhere near the depth of some of its competition at this point. Each character has like 3 weapon types, right? And they all play very differently to one another. And I kept finding that I was switching between all of the different weapon types quite consistently throughout my playthrough. And Yasuke as well, he's just a complete tank. But I will admit that I did spend a majority of the time as Naoe, just because her stealth moveset is way more compelling and there's just way more to it. And she's also just faster in general. Like, Yasuke moves quite slowly. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed Shadows. I honestly think it's one of the best Assassin's Creed games to date, and I had a blast playing it, and I'm definitely going to go back to it. Like, I played the game for like 65 hours, and I'm definitely not done with it. It was just super fun and super enjoyable, and I loved it quite a bit. Now, I'm a big fan of Souls-likes. Souls-likes are like my favourite genre of game. I play pretty much all the major ones that come out, so obviously I was gonna play Kazan. I didn't play it like on release because I was busy with Shadows, but I played it, you know, a couple weeks later, and I will be honest, this is by far the most difficult Souls-like I have ever played. It is on par and sometimes surpasses like Shadow of the Erdtree, you know, like the final boss of Shadow of the Erdtree. That boss took me hours to get through. And in Kazan, honestly, the majority of bosses in this game took me well over an hour. It was brutal. And I'll be honest, I almost put the game down because I do have some pretty major issues with this game. I think the level design is just not very good. It's really, each level, it takes the Nioh approach where it's mission based. But unlike Nioh, which has just this incredible weapon variety which constantly shakes things up. You know, there's like 12 different weapons in Nioh. This game has 3 weapons, and early on, the weapons are quite simple. They have quite simple movesets. So I was like not really enjoying the game for like the first 5 hours or so. And I was thinking about just putting it down because I didn't find that it was rewarding to beat the bosses, but then the reward was like you unlock a new mediocre level to explore. But something that really surprised me about this game was that it just progressively gets better the more time you put into it. The second half of this game has way better level design, which just loops around on itself and has tons of shortcuts and lots of like secrets to find and stuff, and the bosses as well. Actually, I would say the second half, like the second set of bosses in this game, are a bit easier. I think it's because I actually took the time to learn the movesets, and once you unlock more skills using like the skill tree, which this game has a skill tree, unlike other Souls-likes. It's not just the traditional Souls-like leveling system. You actually have skills that you unlock. Once I unlocked some of these skills, it became quite, I wouldn't say it became easy, but it became easier. Some of these later bosses I literally took down in like 2 or 3 attempts. And I stuck with the greatsword pretty much throughout the entire game, and I had a really good time with it. Like, this is some of the most satisfying combat ever. The parry in this game is probably the best. It just feels so good. My main complaint really is, apart from the level design, is that I think that the bosses in general just have a bit too much health and they're a bit too lengthy. Like, a lot of the difficulty in this game is literally just like, it's more about like having the patience to defeat these bosses rather than just learning their movesets. It's very unforgiving in that literally some of these bosses can take 5-10 minutes. Like the final boss has like 3 phases and it lasts like 15 minutes. I died a couple of times to like the 3rd phase. It was literally like 10 plus minutes of progress lost. But there are some cool things where like if you die to a boss, the Lacrima just spawns outside of the boss arena, and you also earn XP depending on how much progress you made with the boss, and you also earn XP for like skill points and stuff. So there is this constant state of progression. Each of these bosses are going to take you like a dozen plus attempts, but there is still, it doesn't feel like you're just ramming your head against the wall, you know, it does feel like you are progressing. But yeah, I just wish that the first half of this game had more compelling level design. It is a game that just progressively got better and better. But yeah, once I learned the game and once I figured out actually how to play it, I had a really good time with it. And that's going to wrap up this video. Those were just my thoughts on like 5 games that came out so far. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, definitely like and subscribe. It would help out the channel a lot, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.